Is it going to be me who will be changing the slides, or who's going to put the presentation? While they're putting the presentation on, I would like to again welcome everyone and thank you for attending this forum, both international participants, local participants, business, NGOs, because this is what we do for elderly people, senior citizens. And the efficiency can be achieved exclusively through partnership and collaboration of all the stakeholders. I would like to start from reminding you that the population that we work for, that we work with, and that we're talking about today is a huge part of our society, both Belarusian, regional, and global society. And we see today, and Klaus mentioned it too, and other speakers mentioned it too, that there are more and more people of senior age, and eventually we're gonna have to pay notice to this considerable part of the population that require access to education, employment, and access to all the required services, and to be perceived as an active, independent, and very important part of the economic development. And yes, we do see that the share of people older than 65 is growing, but because of the longer lifespan due to better medicine, social protection, economy, we see that more and more people aged 80 plus are appearing, and in 50 years this share is gonna increase 3 times. And this is not a bad thing, it's actually a very good thing, but it's important that we all take it in the correct way so that our future is ready for the elderly people to be an active and full-fledged member and participant of the process of shaping that future. Well, talking about Belarus, as in other countries of the region and other countries of the world, the share of the senior citizens is growing. This is a well-known fact, and we're not unlike other countries of the region and many other countries in the world. The elderly population 65 plus is growing. And here I would like also to point out the gender aspect of it. As for the Belarusian population, we can see that elderly population, gender-wise, there are twice as many women compared to men. And I'm gonna go back to that topic and later in my presentation because it is a very important factor. Therefore, gender sensitivity as it pertains to when we shape the package of services for the population and shape our social and economic policy. All of this need to be taken into consideration. And on this slide, what I wanted to tell you is that there is a very important component to our life and the life of our senior citizens. There is a well-known saying that we all use that children is our future, and nobody's going to argue with that. This is what it is, and it's not going to change ever. But truth be told, the future of all of us draws us closer every year to the age of 65 plus. And if we take a minute to think about our future, all of us, regardless how old we are, what we would like to see ourselves at the age of 65? What should be the attitude of the community towards us when we are 65 plus? So what will be the systems and services that we're going to receive? And we want that future to be ready to accept us at the age of 65 plus so that we could enjoy happily, as it was mentioned before, that life and all the benefits offered by the country. So what this future should be like? What does it need? And UNFPA is thinking about it all the time. And first of all, it is important to have the correct attitude of society. And we need the society to see the elderly population as an active part of that society. And for that, we need to sometimes change our attitude towards elderly population so that they and us eventually could be perceived as full-fledged members of that society because, as you know, the share of the elderly population is growing and we cannot but notice the importance of that share of the population. And communication is very important. Secondly, we would like to learn, to be educated, and do it all the time. I recently started learning again, and I very often hear people saying, isn't it a little too late for you to learn? Just take care of other things." And I hear it all the time. Well, I take it with kind of philosophically, because this is how the society treats people who are not students anymore, of the student age. And we need to change that too. We need to ensure access to all that information and to all the educational services for all people of all ages if they want to. And talking about the strengthening of that role, we should not ignore the fact that the services for elderly people are also should be improved upon and should meet the needs. And with the increasing share of the elderly population globally and locally, we can see also the increased share of the diseases related to age. For example, mental diseases, such diseases as dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and the share of people with those conditions is growing. The more aged the population becomes. This is another aspect we should be noticing. And another topic that we're going to talk about, not during my presentation, but later, is that we need to think what's going to happen to us after we reach a certain age, and we need to do that not on the eve of becoming of that age, but before, and not be in denial that we're going to become old and changes are going to happen to us. And we need to understand that in order to be able to prepare others for that, in order for us to be healthy and active and happy after the age of 65. So what do we need to do for that? Well, I'm very proud to say that there are products that we've developed together with the Ministry of Labor and the A1 mobile operator company. In some parts of it, we created products that already bring about changes. Well, first of all, let me tell you about the informational strategy that we adopted in 2021 together with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. It was quite a simple tool that aims at identifying criteria and standards for publishing any kind of documents and products related to mass media, social media, well, media in general, and any publications for and about elderly people, the way how we should write about them so that the image of people would change. And I'm going to tell you more about it later. Let me skip to another product, which once again was developed in partnership with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection with the support of the A1 company, which is a tool called I Online or Me Online. And this is a training tool for teaching digital literacy to elderly people so that they could get access to those services in the digital space and do it safely. I will dwell on it later, but I'm sure more will be said about it later too. Third, we're talking about dementia prevention here. A course was developed in partnership with the Ministry of Labor to educate people in the area of the dementia prevention, what kind of exercises they need to do, how to approach that subject, what should we change in ourselves and in other people, our family members, if there are first signs of dementia, so that they wouldn't progress as fast and as much. And fourthly, this is a The preparation to the third age, I think there will be a separate presentation about it. We did it together with the Ministry of Labor, and we're going to talk about it in more detail later. So this is why we're talking about the informational strategy. Here you can see how people, younger people, see elderly people, percentage-wise. And we can see that most see senior citizens today, despite everything, despite all the huge work that is being done, as they perceive them as classic grannies and granddaddies, poor, lonely, in need, and people who treat without respect younger population. And only a small share of them, about 20%, see those people as up to as contemporary, active, living happy lives. And now we are switching to the informational strategy. You can, by the way, scan the QR code. So what's important here is that strategy was adopted in 2021, and in late 2024, we evaluated the performance of the strategy in 3 years, well, almost 4 years. And here's what I wanted to tell you. The share of positive image strengthening publications has increased by 22% in less than 4 years. I think this is quite a good performance, good result, which was achieved through huge work in the regions, together with the elderly population, with the Center for Social Protection of Population, with their direct involvement in the work. Well, of course, working with mass media, with all the producers of the communication materials. But yes, this is an achievement. And I just wanted to show you some of the pictures taken at some of the events within that program with volunteers, the elderly population activists. And in that process, we want to see whether elderly people have access to digital technologies, whether they use them, and if they do, how they use them. And we can see the evaluation of how people use digital technologies such as the internet and digital space. You can see the percentages here. And we see what people did in the digital space, like emails, online streaming, communication, looking for information, like Googling things up. They know how to Google things up. Now, downloading and reading different articles. What do we miss here? We still miss here access to services, for example. Still, they rely more on personal communication, going personally to the bank, pay for their bills, go to the clinic, and make an appointment, etc. So you need to teach them how to do that online. And again, in partnership with the Ministry of Labor and with the mobile operator company A1, we've created a kind of a guideline, step-by-step guide that tells people of elderly age how to do and what to do. And it is not just a guide, it's also a huge work done by A1 volunteers, younger age volunteers who worked with those elderly population within that training.
So, if you will, this is an intergenerational connection which is established during the training. So, training through practice. And this is the best kind of training that we can hope for. I guess we'll be talking about it at length here. If you find it interesting, you can scan this QR code to get access to that guide. I'll give you 2 more seconds to scan it, and then I'll move on. Yes. What else is important here? I don't know whether Pavel will talk about it, but all guides, all this work was done considering the needs of the elderly. In other words, our focus groups have been involved at all the stages of the way, and they were testing these products. Basically, we developed those products jointly with them. Again, you can see some of the training materials here as part of our joint project with the Ministry of Labor and A1 telecom operator. Now, a few words about cognitive health. There will be a separate section about cognitive health within our forum. Once again, we see that our population is aging and the number of cognitive disorders are increasing. There is no way to deny it. And when I spoke to the healthcare specialists who are specializing in cognitive health, they told me that we receive now people at a later stage of disorder development. They came to us when they require serious drug assistance or hospitalization, and when their relatives and loved ones cannot handle them anymore. What can we do about that? First of all, we shouldn't be in denial. Each one of us is facing such a risk. We just need to accept it. It can happen to our relatives. And when we see first signs, you shouldn't just, wave it away saying that it's just age. No, there are very simple exercises. There are methodologies which seemingly too simple, but if we'll practice them during coffee breaks, you will see that those exercises are quite difficult in performing in spite of their simplicity, if we do it exactly like specialists tell us to do. Now, we can see that dementia is again affecting a colossal proportion of our population. Speaking about gender component, because women all over the world live longer than men. That is why in the older age, dementia affects mostly women again, and women traditionally are also caregivers. That's why the share of this caregiving burden for dementia people is done by women. We already see three components which are gender sensitive, which need to be recognized, that the share of older women is almost 2 times higher than the share of older men because of their longer life expectancy, and they're also more affected by dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and cognitive disorders. And the caregiving is also more often than not the responsibility of women. And already now, globally, dementia occupies the 7th place among the leading causes of death all over the world. What has been done so far? We have developed a specialized course whose target audience is both caregiving specialists, older people who want to prevent any cognitive disorders for the future, and their relatives. The relatives who can dedicate their time and efforts to help their loved ones to prevent a further progress of these disorders or prevent their onset in the first place. Now, I gradually segue to the next presentation, which is why and how we need to prepare for the older age at earlier stage, no later than the age of 40. Some people are saying you should do it even earlier than 40. Because there was a recent study done by National Bank, if I'm not mistaken, in Belarus, where only 40% of Belarusians are thinking about their future, what will happen to them when they will come closer to their pension age. And according to the Global Pension Index done in 24 countries, 42% of respondents avoid thinking about their pension age, what will happen to them after they retire. And this is wrong. This is a wrong attitude. They shouldn't be afraid of that. If you think about it and care about it systemically, consistently, becomes like a habit, and that will improve your life. It will be better for the social care systems and for ourselves if we think about it in time. This joint product is called compass of the future, preparation for retirement for the 40-plus aged audience, and I will make a stop on that, and we'll pass both the microphone and remote to the next speaker. Thank you, Olga.